few months later, it's time for the paternity test. And I walked into the office and Sarah's sitting right there at the door with him in her hands. And he's sitting there, he looks up at me and smiles. And I saw myself looking back at me and I go, oh my gosh. And I stopped. I run out and I call my mom. I was like, Mom, I don't need to take the test. I was like, I'm looking at me. This is my son. And ever since that day, I knew I'm going to be in your life and you're mine.
What's up, dads? This is the Rise and Dad podcast, a podcast in perspective on life as a dad from dads who are intentional about their fatherhood. I'm your host, Kevin DelRo, and we have another great show today with an awesome guest. Before we get into it, I want to share some really exciting news. This is a Communicator Award for the Rise and Dad podcast. We recently received this award for excellence for the video podcast series. Thank you to all those who support us, who've been with us since episode 1 or way back when I just had this idea for the podcast. I love that a lot of you have reached out to me just saying that you've taken something from the show or used it. It means a lot to me. And this award is for you. I'm just glad that we have intentional dads and parents of all different walks of life that are really taken to parenting, intentional parenthood, and just doing great things. So keep it up. Thank you to the Communicator Awards. We appreciate it. Now, today's guest would call himself a serial entrepreneur. He's a media agency owner, a restaurateur, and a former basketball player, pro basketball player, coach, and best of all, he's a father of 3, a 1-year-old boy, Kobe, a 2-year-old girl, Quincy, and a 14-year-old boy, Jaxxon. So we're going to hear all about this. I'd love to welcome to the pod Phil. Thanks, Phil.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Yes, Phil, before we get started, you got to tell us, what the hell did you do to your voice, man? What's up with it? You knew we were doing the podcast.
Look, hey, fathering. Back in Dallas, my son had a basketball tournament this weekend, and the coach came out of me. I hate parents yelling, but I felt like his coach and the parents weren't doing their job of energizing the team, so I took it upon myself. And it wasn't until today that my wife goes, aren't you going on the podcast? And I said, yeah. And so it's either do or die.
Hey, it's all good, man. It's all good. I told you that you're just going to be more of like that OG unk. That might be the episode. OG unk, voiceless OG unk, putting the vibes out.
Hey, we're here. We're here.
I know that you and I have been trying to connect on multiple creative projects in the past. I'm so glad that we finally got here and getting to talk to something that is obviously near and dear to my heart is fatherhood and parenting. And I think you have a great story to tell. Before we get into that, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself by way of Seattle, all the projects that you're working on?
My name is Philip Bailey. I don't even know where to start, really. Let's go to things I'm most proud of. I am a father. I'm a husband as well. My beautiful wife, Joey. And the kids have been a big turning point in my life. I believe that everybody goes through stages of life, and the kids, when they came about, it really turned me into sort of figuring out who I wanted to be as a man. Along with that, like you said, restaurateur. We run 2 restaurants in Bellevue with my wife's family, 520 Bar and Grill and Central Bar and Restaurant. And then I have my own businesses, Q4 Media, small media agency. We do a lot of commercial work, rebranding, and then I personally specialize in headshots and portrait shoots and whatnot. I have another business by way of Seattle. This is our first launch. The actual business name is Hybrid Seattle. So a lot of people have gotten that confused, but this was our first launch. It was by way of Seattle Volume 1. So that, and then we have a few other businesses. I won't get into it, but yeah, those are things I'm most proud of, just the kids, and then everything else has come up. Q4 Media actually was started because I originally wanted to name it 4Q, which was for Quincy, my daughter. I wanted to be able to leave something for her, and I ended up changing it to Q4. It sounded a little bit better.
I like it, man. I like it. And, you know, you already mentioned you got me and my wife on our next date night.
Yeah,
So we're
absolutely.
there. We're there. You got me.
Absolutely.
Hey, quick icebreakers. Phil, what's your favorite emoji?
Probably the little
Little smiley face.
the little
Yeah.
smiley face with the hands.
Mine is was like this one. I'm like, I don't know.
I still use the old school one where it's literally like the little slashes and the.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I
The
still
old,
use
the
that
old
one.
school. And then real quick, one thing that bugs you about parents.
About parenting, communication.
Oh, so you went deep with it. I thought you were gonna say like parents in the stands or PTA meetings or something.
Communication.
You went deep with it.
Everyone always asks you about why you're doing stuff, etc. Your wife wants to know what's going on. Just communication. Just, I'm doing what I'm doing. You can do it.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to talk to you now about your kids. You got 2 under 2 and a 14-year-old. Why don't you tell me a little bit about what's going on in your lives right now? What are you dealing with?
It is hard. The dynamic between 11, 12 years is just so big. But I'd say with the 2 under 2, my daughter 2, my son 1. With my daughter, she's 2. She'll actually be 3 in July. But she's now finding her personality. She's talking to people, but she's also been rebellious. And so I'm the one that deals with all discipline. And she tells me no, and then will stare at me. I don't know how to handle that in the moment. And so that's why I say I just sort of do what comes naturally. But then I want to discipline her. But then at the same time, she'll like laugh and come give me a hug. I don't know what to do at that moment. And so it's like, dude, like, come here, give that.
Yeah.
That's my baby. My son, he's 1 and he's just starting to walk. And so, but he's also turning into like this little rascal, whereas he couldn't touch things before. Now he's grabbing things. He sees clothes. He throws everything everywhere. And it's just, so we're dealing with 2 different things because my daughter's over here jumping off of couches and stuff. My son's over here throwing the stuff out of my bag, throwing camera lenses and stuff. And then my oldest son, he doesn't want to talk to me anymore. He thinks he's too cool. And so he's like, Dad, I want to go play with my friends. And I'm just like, dude, you're having to think so much about so many different things at the same time. And it's fun, but it's stressful. And I feel like no matter what age, people always understand that, but just figuring out how to find peace in that, but also just do right by your kids at the same time. It's fun, but like I said, it can be stressful.
Yeah, I could see how that'd be really hard because there's such a difference in ages where, you know, how you talk to one might be a little different and deal with them, but that'd be the challenge for me. But I know that one thing that I've been working with in my house was like how I speak with my daughter, which is usually very kind and soft. Then I can like do that with my wife too. So I'm like practicing what you're doing, and it's helped where I've tried to, I mean, just have this kindness and like calmness across my entire life, right? So I've learned it because I'm very good at talking to my kid that way. And I'm like, why can't I do that to everybody? And so it's been a learning for me of like trying to like communicate effectively across people. Sounds like you're.
I've always thought that it was important for me to be a man. And when my daughter came about, I always thought it was a joke that the most manly of men turn soft when they have daughters. But multitudes of people have said, dude, Phil, you're not the same guy you used to be. Like, you're so soft now. And I'm like, hey, I'm still him. But at the same time, I appreciate it because, like I said, communication.
Yeah.
My communication has gotten better. I've gotten more aware of people's feelings because I always pay attention to how my daughter is. But she's my greatest joy in life. I love my other kids just as much as her, but she is a different thing than I've ever dealt with. And I love challenge. So that's my little rock.
Yeah, that was very similar to me, Phil. Like when my wife was pregnant and we knew that we were having a girl, I was always team girl. And the reason why was that it was just something different from what I was used to. And, growing up, I was obviously a boy, and like I knew what I liked. And I knew that if I had a boy, I'd want him to like all the same things. I wanted to dress him in stuff that I would wear. And like having a girl is exactly what you mentioned. It was just like a challenge. It's this new being, right? Like I don't know what it's like to grow up as a girl or what problems a little girl faces. And so it was such a fun challenge to me where I was like, this is what I want with my fatherhood. I want to learn something new. And obviously I would learn something new with being a dad to a boy, but it's just like a different species,
Completely
right?
opposite.
Yeah. And like, how could I learn that and let's like get better?
Yep. It's a completely different language. And it's amazing to watch it and to learn and watch you change. And my wife loves it. She's a daddy's girl, but he's a girl dad. And, that's cool. I love it. I love it.
That's great. So tell me, typical day for a dad with 2 under 2. I think you work from home too,
Yeah.
right? So you see it. What's it like?
I'm blessed to be able to work from home. However, some of the same dynamics that other parents deal with are still there. So I'll wake up early because our kids get up. Our son gets up like 6:30. Our daughter's up by about 7:38. And so I will try to get my workout in before 9:00. My wife, we've sort of come up with a understanding where she handles the mornings a lot. I'll handle the evenings. And so in the mornings, I'll get up, get out the house, go work out, come back home. And if she needs it, I'll help her get out the house with the kids. And then during the day, I do my work. I get everything done, but I have to have everything done by about 3:30. And that's simply because I cook for them every night. And that's just my thing. I wanted to start living healthier, but I also wanted my kids to be healthy. And so with that, I said, all right, I'm going to cook for you all every night. I want us to be able to sit down as a family and enjoy this moment together, especially because my wife and I both are running so much throughout the week. If we know that each day we're able to come home and this is our time, then I think that'll be important. And so I cook every day, but I'm done with work by about 3:34. And then we eat together. And after that, it's up to me. I try to get them down fast, but I'll take my son. Sometimes my wife will take my daughter. My daughter loves sleeping with my wife. However, it kills our time because Joey will go into the room, will knock out, and won't wake up till 1 in the morning.
Hey man, I the same thing has to be. It's like every dad has been through it. Your mom goes in, she'd be like, "I'll be right out." I'm like, "Nah, you're gonna
Yeah.
fall asleep in
Yeah.
there." Like I know. Hey, see you in the morning.
And that created a bit of a strain on us at first because we're like, yo, there's no personal time.
Sure.
Like, we don't have that time because Joey goes in there and knocks out. And then
Yeah.
I just stay downstairs, do some extra work, and then I go to sleep in our room.
Yeah.
And then she wakes up at 4 in the morning, comes in, and I'm like, dude, stay over there. Don't even come here. I'm tired.
Yeah.
And so we had to figure that out. And so now, depending on, our schedules, I go in there, wake her up some nights, and it's like, hey, come out of here. And we'll watch a movie together, just do something just to get that little intimate time.
Yeah. No, that's really important. That was something that me and my wife had to work at was at what point do we get our us time? Because, we are just admittedly so vested in this little girl, right? We have all of our intention, but that's not healthy for us. And what we'd found was just scheduling time, like literally like putting it on each other's calendars, whether it was lunch, coffee, or hey, tonight we're going to watch this movie, like really being intentional about setting it. Or, we try to be really good about date nights. And what we would do is if like, let's say there was a show that we want to go to, like I would just go ahead and buy the tickets. We didn't even confirm it. And we just do it. And then you get like a week ahead and you're like, oh shit, remember we bought these? Well, I guess we got to go, And so just being intentional about setting those plans was what would really help for us. But I feel you, man, when it's busy like that, it's, you often don't have enough time for yourself, but like we guys got to remember it's like, well, we need our time too. So I hear you on that.
I think you hit that on the head, though. The being intentional.
Yeah.
That was our theme for about 3 months. because before we were intentional about taking care of our kids, and then we didn't realize that we weren't being intentional for ourselves. And that was when we figured out, like, hey, I should go in there and wake you up. Hey, we should communicate that we want to spend time together this evening. And we started figuring out, hey, we should come up with a date night. But that word intentional is key. And like hearing that, like scheduling it out. Because we say we have a date night. And we're like, well, what time are we going to go? And we don't really figure it out until we're just either going or we're just stuck at home. We're like, all right, let's just hang out. And I think that I'm going to try that. I think that scheduling it, because I'm a big calendar person. My calendar filled up. And I'm like, if we need to do something, put it on the calendar. And I think that if we schedule that out, put it on the calendar this time, I think that'll actually be dope.
I love that.
I love that.
There's your homework, man. You're going to leave here and you're going to put it on the calendar. Your wife's going to get it on her phone. She's going to love you for this one. You're going to be like special date night. So hire the babysitter, whatever it is. The intentionalness with this podcast, we talk about it a lot. It's required when you're a parent because you think about getting a babysitter, like when are we leaving? What are we packing? There's so many things about parenting that makes you into this really good planner. I always think that like really helps parenting, like planning out and setting it on a schedule, just like you said, but that's
Parenting
your homework.
is never
Joey's going to love
last
it.
minute.
What'd you say?
Parenting is never last minute.
Absolutely never.
Somebody
Absolutely.
said that to me and I didn't understand it till years later, but it makes so much sense.
All right, Phil, one of the questions I always ask is to tell me about their dad. So I'd love to hear about your dad, Phil.
My dad is a great man. I characterize him as a traditional Black father in the sense of he worked his butt off. He made sure that we got everything that we needed. He loved my mom and they had their arguments and whatnot, but he came home, he did what was necessary, and he was very much so a do as I say, not as I do, in the sense of if I go and I go outside, I don't want you to ask questions. Don't ask questions. Don't ask why. Just do as I say. But it was because he always had the best intentions and he never wanted us to stray or fall flat. But he was a rock. And my wife likes to characterize me as a rock in the sense of I'm pretty fearless. He made me into a man that isn't scared of anything. But with that, he also, I would say, somewhat dimmed my ability to communicate. I didn't realize that until I was a grown man and had a family. But I know that he did everything he could for me. And he told me at my wedding that, hey, I've given you about everything that I can. It's time for you to find, some other mentors. And I think that he was talking about my wife's dad. He said, I think you can learn a lot from him. And so it's just cool that my dad, he took me about as far as he could. And then now as a husband and as someone that's building businesses, now I've had to look elsewhere because my dad can't really teach me that part of life.
That was really cool, Phil. I loved hearing that. I think that the one thing that really spoke to me was when you mentioned that he said he's given you all he's got and he's given you all that he can. And I honestly hope, it sounds like, it might sound like that's all I can give, but to me, it's so deep and profound that someone would say, I've given you everything that I got. And I hope that when in my parenting journey, when my daughter is at a certain point, then I can honestly say and truthfully say, I have given you absolutely everything I could. And I think that's a very honorable thing for him to say, especially when he's looking at where the trajectory of your life is going, whether it's entrepreneurship or building businesses, where he might maybe think that he can't provide value there. But if he was here now, I would tell him that he's provide such a foundational basis for you as a person that is obviously going to carry over through business. And I just found that very, very deep that he says, like, I've given you all I can. Like, I hope that my kids or my kid, I only got one kid, realize that I've given it all. Right. And I think that him telling you that was really cool.
You said kids a few times. Does that mean you got one coming?
No, I would have told the guests though, if that was it. I'm not hiding anything from the Rising Dad audience.
Y'all planning it though.
No.
You're being intentional.
Oh man. Now he's putting me on the spot here. So the Rising Dad audience will be the first to know.
I like it.
Yeah. Well, hey, do you think that, the way that you described your dad and your wife thinking, you're a rock too, how does it make you feel when someone says like, oh, you're just like your dad or you're a rock like your dad? Is that good in your mind? Do you want to be a little different? Maybe there's something that you want to change in the way you were brought?
Yo, make me get on. When I was in 9th grade, my parents moved us from Little Rock, Arkansas to Dallas, Texas. I got into an argument with my dad about something, but I told him in that argument, I was like, I hope I never like you, and I'm going to be 10 times the man that you are. And I've never forgotten that. And for a long time, I made it my life's mission to be better than him. And I wanted to do more than him. I wanted to see more of the world than him. I wanted to make more money than him. And it wasn't until it wasn't until I think I was 27 and somebody asked me, like, do you realize everything that you've done? And I was like, yeah. I was like, I had one driving force, and it was him. But it was because he never used to tell me that he loved me. After I was like 17, 18, I don't ever remember like him really saying like, I love you. And I never got him telling me that he was proud of me, only like what I could do better at, which is good. When someone tells you that, is telling you the things that you can be better at, is great. I think it's great to get that constructive criticism. But when I've been looking to hear you just tell me that I've made you proud, it is kind of sucks because it's like, all right, well, what do I need to do to get that? Like, I know what I did wrong. What do I need to do right to get you to tell me that you're proud of me? And so now I just left him and my mom this past weekend. And we've been on such a much better level this past few years since I've been married and been a father. But now he tells me when we leave, he tells me that he loves me. He's told me that he's been proud of me multiple times, that the way that I am embracing being a father, being a husband, he's very proud of that. And I think I cried to Joey once, the first time that I remember him saying that he loved me. And that was just because I was just like, it came out of nowhere, but I was just so happy. I was just so happy to hear my father. I don't know. I just wanted that. I wanted that moment of knowing that I had made him proud, because I felt like I could never live up to what he wanted, and to know that I did. And I fought against that for years, but I feel like I finally did it. And now me and him like best friends now. But we talk to each other like equals. It just took 20 something odd years. So
Thank you for sharing that. That was really cool. I think that I've had in the past where, and it sounds like you're very similar, where sometimes you're fueled by negativity or
yeah,
or even like hate, like hate, not saying your dad was a hater, but like you almost have like a chip on your shoulder, and everything that you're achieving or everything that you're driving for sometimes isn't for yourself. It's just to drive and like it's to prove other people wrong. And I used to be like that in a way. And I had found that like sometimes it was just like driving me in a negative version of trying what I was trying to achieve, where it's like, am I doing this for me or am I doing it to like prove someone wrong? And it's really great to hear you, kind of like mend that with your dad and have this moment. I always think about this because I've had a few guests on the show say like, "Oh, my dad never told me he was proud or that he loved me." And my next follow-up question is always the same one. It's, well, then how, you knowing that, how do you transition that into your parenting now? Are you just always letting your kid know like that they love them? I think that for me, my dad never told me he loved me, but I just knew it. And I feel like that was a really strong exhibit of love where he never said it. I know for a fact he never said, I love you. But for some reason, I just knew it. And so in my head, I'm like, well, what did he do? And it was like acts of service, um, doing things that were only for us, that were not for him. And those were the things that I tried to take with my parenting, but also going the opposite way and just like drowning my daughter with love, right? Saying I love her. And we have this saying where I'm like, does daddy love you? She's like, yeah, she does. And I'm like, is that ever gonna change? She's like, no, never. And I'm like, well, what if you do something really weird, really bad? Will he be mad? No, never. And when she says that and she knows that I'm always gonna feel that way, I'm like, good. Like I've solved that. You'll never feel that way. And so I love hearing that you guys kind of had this moment, but tell me about how that's impacted your own fatherhood.
in very similar ways. I make sure that my kids know through acts of service, but I also tell them. I tell them simply because, right, things that you don't like in life. And I feel like if you see things like that, especially things done to other people, that it's almost your duty to fix those in the way that you handle people. And so both my kids, every single night, without a doubt, when I'm putting them to bed, or when I'm putting my son to bed, if my daughter's already asleep with my wife, I will tell them whether they're asleep or awake. I whisper in their ear because I feel like they can cognitively know that I'm saying something right, even if they're not awake to hear it and process it. But I always tell them, Daddy loves you. I don't want you to ever forget it, and I don't want you to ever question it. And that's my thing at the end of the day. But throughout the day, I make sure that I tell them multiple times, all the time, Daddy loves you. And similar to you, I tell my daughter, like, hey, who loves you the most? And my daughter is like, you. And I'm like, how much does Daddy love you? So much. And so we do things like that. But I also try to dial in when things go wrong. And if she does something wrong, I'll bring her to me. And instead of getting on to her, I'll talk to her about why it went wrong or why you left the refrigerator open. We came home, popsicles are on the floor and they're all melted. So now they're all messed up. And she's crying. She wanted a popsicle. So I tell her, I'm like, hey, the refrigerator was left open. Why did you leave it open? She goes, I forgot. And my daughter's very smart, though she's 2. And she goes, I forgot. I go, that doesn't make Daddy happy. So what do we do next time? And she goes, I'm sorry, Daddy. I go, I know you are. What do we do next time? And she goes, I'll close it. I go, great job. And I go, hey, it's okay that you did it, but let's be better, okay? Daddy loves you, but we can't have a popsicle right now. So now she understands next time my plan of action is to make sure I close it. Daddy loves me still, even though I messed up. And it's not the best thing, but I can be better. And that's all I want from her. I want her to be better from now till she's 18, till whenever. Be better. Same for her, my son, and my oldest son. Be better. but know that I love you regardless, unconditionally. But also look at what we can do better, and let's do that to be better. And I feel like they'll learn, and they'll know daddy loves them regardless because of that.
Yeah, that's really good, Phil. And you know what? I don't know if you're gonna like this, but I heard some of your dad in that, and but it's like plus you, plus the loving element. So I love how you still that rock, like your wife says, but like the guidance
Yeah.
around the learning, but then you added on the love, which is what you kind of missed out on
Well, like I
in yours.
said, my dad didn't, there was no questions asked.
Yeah.
There was no communication on it. It was, you left the popsicles out. Now go clean it up and then go to your room. You don't get a popsicle tonight. I couldn't ask why. I couldn't ask, well, can we get that? I couldn't say anything. It was clean it up. Now go to your room. Whereas with them, I want them to know, you don't have to go to your room. Just, this is how we fix it. And, it's okay. I still love you. Like, it's popsicles.
Yes, I love it. And I love how you can talk through it. One of the things that really came through, and just a big theme on this podcast, is the intentionality. When you were talking about your daughter, you talk about how, every night you say you have something, how you say you love her, or whatever it is. Like, just the intentionality of every night. Like, we realize that goes so far of just being like, I'm going to do this every night. And it's just a big part of this podcast. We use that word so often that, you doing that, like, you don't know how strong that is, how moving it is. Like, what, and she may be asleep, but she hears it. And like, also the fact that you're intentional about doing it every day, that is like creating this like good aura of like parenting that I just am all about.
I just want to be intentional in everything I do with my kids, because the second you're not, it's the second that something falls off and you allow for some negativity or anything to come in.
That's right. That's right. There's, I had one guest that said there's enough negativity in the world today that like we should have our homes, our relationships, all that's like surrounding our kids be positive.
Yeah.
There's just already all this negative shit that
Exactly.
like don't want to add more to it, right?
Exactly.
All right, Phil, one thing that I wanted to talk to you about was Jaxxon. Your 14-year-old, what a stud. He's a cool kid, but I understand you should tell the story about how Jaxxon kind of came out of nowhere. Tell us.
It's crazy. So me and his mom, we were together, and we dated for some time, and I didn't know what I wanted to do at my time. She didn't know what she wanted to do. And so I was traveling. She was living and going to college. And, we did what young people do. And then one day, I think I was in Chicago. No, it was Thanksgiving. And I get it. No, it wasn't Thanksgiving.
But you weren't together.
No, we weren't together.
Okay.
We weren't together. And I get a call. I actually deleted her number. It was bad. And she's like, hey, I'm pregnant. I'm like, no, you're not. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, oh. And we'll skip all the minor details, but I didn't believe it was mine. The two important timelines of his life, or the beginning of him, it was Thanksgiving night, and I was asleep on my friend's couch. She called me 6 times. I didn't pick up. My best friend picked up, and she told him, hey, I'm about to give birth. This is Phil's son. He should be there. My best friend wakes me up and goes, hey, you should go to the hospital. I'm like, why? He goes, worst case scenario, it's not your son. You wasted 30 minutes of your life. Best case scenario, it is your son, and at least you're there. So I'm like, okay, cool, I'll go. So I go, I see him, I hold him, everything. That's that. Hindsight, or after that, a few months later, it's time for the paternity test. And I walked into the little DA's office, whatever, and Sarah's sitting right there at the door with him in her hands. And I walk in, I look over, and he's sitting there. He looks up at me and smiles. And I saw myself looking back at me, and I go, oh my gosh. And I stopped. And the lady is like, sir, you can come up here. I go, no, I got to go. I run out, and I call my mom. I was like, Mom, I don't need to take the test. This is my son. And she goes, what? I was like, I'm looking at me. This is my son. And ever since that day, I knew I'm going to be in your life and you're mine. And me and Sarah talked about it, and I've been there ever since. I have a great relationship with her, great relationship with her significant other, Rodriguez. And, we do pretty good at this co-parent thing. It wasn't always that way, but now I'd say we're great at it.
What was the process of we're not together to, hey, we're going to try to co-parent this kid together, especially, as, these early years, those are the hardest. And I say these are even hard for couples that are together, right? So can you walk us through what was that experience of like, how are we going to raise this kid together, or how am I going to be part of his life? And we're not even together. Obviously, you're cordial still, but like I said, it's hard doing it with your wife sometimes, right?
When we broke up, it wasn't anything negative. It wasn't a bad breakup, but also we both come from good families, and we were both genuine people. So when Jaxxon came about, the only difficulty was that I was so immature, and I was also still with basketball. And so I'm traveling, and then I'm coming back home, I'm traveling. But then when I'll come back home, I was drinking at the time. So like I don't drink now, I don't do anything, but I was drinking at the time. But when I would go out and drink, I was a basketball player. So I'm going out and I'm spending all my money. I'm doing all this stuff. I'm staying out till 3 a.m. And that just wasn't conducive for raising a young kid. And so I'd pick them up, take them to my parents' house, then I wouldn't show back up until Sunday. And so Sarah hated that. She came down hard on me, as she should have. But over time, I realized I want to be a part of this kid's life. And she told me, she was like, you keep doing this, I don't want you to be a part of his life. And I was like, I want to be there for him. And so I slowed down on everything, and she just cared about Jaxxon. I just cared about Jaxxon aside from us. And so we both had a conversation, and she was like, as long as you're going to be there for him when you say you will, and as long as you're going to be a positive role model, I want you around all the time. And I always tell her thank you to this day, because she's an amazing mom. I couldn't ask for better for him. And so I think it was all on me. I had to be better, and I became better. And, Jaxxon loves us both tremendously. And I think we were blessed with this really good kid that didn't really give us problems. No matter who he was with, he was just an amazing kid.
That's awesome, Phil. Was there a moment when it kind of clicked for you?
So I don't talk about this much, but I got locked up for a little bit of time. And this is in the midst of my golden time in life. Everyone thought that I had everything, and in reality, I had more than I'd ever had. And so there's no reason for me to be doing anything crazy. However, I loved riding motorcycles, doing track days and stuff. And so, I happened to run from the police one night, ended up getting locked up, and I was gone for a good amount of time. Not a crazy amount of time, it was like a year. Um, but not being able to see my son for a year was crazy to me. And I got out of that, and I have a tattoo that says recovery. But after that was when I decided. I was like, I don't need to be drinking anymore. I don't need to smoke anything. And I want to be better. Little did I know that would, translate to helping me with my family now. But that was when I said, I want to be a better person. And I did it for me first. And, building that relationship was a byproduct of that. But that was he was really that trigger for me, because if anything else happened, Sarah said she would never let me see him again. And so I said, I'll cut everything up right now, because I won't give up my son for dumb. I hang out with people for 30 minutes or for an hour or two a night, or I can raise my son for his life. Which one matters the most, right? And I made that decision.
Thanks for that, Phil. I think that's just a beautiful story about like just like a coming to Jesus moment of like almost like priorities and being like, I could keep doing this, but what actually gives me happiness? What really like drives me? I think that as parents, we go through this transition where, it's like, we used to go out and we used to hang out with our friends. And I tell people all the time, man, I'm a terrible friend now. And I'm a terrible friend because I don't really want to hang out with you as much anymore. Right? I'd rather hang out with my wife. I'd rather hang out with my daughter.
Yeah.
And that's what's important about, that's what makes me a good dad, honestly, is that I'd rather just stay at home and hang out with y'all than my friends or whatever, or meet new friends. I always say like no new friends. And the reason
I have that same motto.
no new friends, I say, look, I don't have enough time for my family. I don't have enough time for my good friends. I definitely don't have time for new friends. Hell no.
Yeah. And me and my wife, we always say like, yo, you don't have kids, you wouldn't understand my life anyways.
Exactly.
Like, so it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I like you, you're a great person, but it's just not going to work out.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
Right. And it took me a while because I was fighting it and I thought I wanted all these friends. But in reality, it's just taking time away from my family.
Yeah.
And with having, 202, man, I don't have time for that. So.
Yeah. And when you're with your friends, it's with me too. Like, luckily I fell in love and I'd rather just hang out with my wife. And then we had a kid and then it just expanded that I just want to be with y'all. Right. And so you have your boys and your friends and I do. And I'm like, I hope that you guys get to where I'm at. And they eventually did. They all eventually met their partners and got married. And it's like, that was like the goal. It was like, yeah, we're hanging out, but I found love. We had kid and we're so blessed here and we're happy. You're going to get there too. Like, we're not all going to be hanging out. Don't worry about it. Right. So that was when I say like about being a bad friend makes me a great father, but it's because everyone's going to get there, or I hope they get there.
That's real. I've never thought of that. Being a bad friend makes me a great friend.
Yeah. Because, in life, like,
That's crazy.
you want to fall
The two
in
don't
love,
coincide.
right? Yeah. If you wrote your storybook, you'd be like, I was hanging out with my friends and then I ran into this girl. We fell in love and then we made this beautiful creature. And then we fell in love with this creature. And now me and my wife or my partner, we're like on this trajectory that we're just building this beautiful creature into this amazing thing. And nowhere in that story is our friends are coming along and it's like hopefully they're going to do that too. Yeah. And that's like the greatness of life, right? They're going to find their partner and hopefully my best friend finds his partner. He doesn't want to hang out with me either because he found someone even better that like completes him, and they do that. That's how I've always seen it. And so while I joke about it being a bad friend, but that's why I'm a great father. And ideally I'm trying to be the best husband at the same time too.
I love that.
All right, Phil, we're going to move into your parenting. I asked you about how you prepared about parenting or your fatherhood, and your answer was kind of laissez-faire. I was like, yeah, he's going to figure it out. And I get a sense because you've been through some shit and you did figure it out. But can you tell me a little bit about how you got there? A lot of people just get a little stressed and in their head about figuring out how to do parenting, but you're very much like, we'll figure it out. How'd you get there?
I just don't believe in being stressed for something that you can't control. If I'm going to be stressed, I'm going to be stressed in a position of where I have some control to fix it. With, like, let's say I have a deadline today. I might wake up and be stressed over that. But I can look at the facts. I can look at the time. And I can go out there and lay out a plan to go and get that stuff done by the deadline. I wake up today and my daughter is having a fit in the morning because she didn't get good sleep. I don't know what will fix that. However, if I have guidelines that I live by, then that will help me get through that. And we will get through it together, my wife, my daughter, my son, and I. And so we, my wife, she gets stressed quite often. She has high anxiety. But for me, I just believe that if we do everything for the good of the kids and do it with love in our hearts, that will help us through. Now, that's not to say that I don't believe that hey, we should have boundaries on this, boundaries on that, and that we should, make sure they eat this and get in bed by this time. But as far as just getting stressed about day-to-day stuff, it's gonna happen. So I just sort of say, hey, it's another day of raising kids.
Yeah, you'll figure it out, but it's knowing that you can figure it out. I was listening to the TED Talk on parenting, and there was a study about there was some research on like the most successful dads or the most successful dads. I know, sounds kind of like BS, but one of the strongest things about the most successful dads was confidence. And confidence is an ability or a thought that one can figure it out, right? You're confident that you can figure it out. So if your wife was like, hey, I'm going to leave for the weekend, here are the kids, you figure it out. There's a difference between a confident dad that's like, awesome, I'm a little stressful, but I could figure this out and we're going to have a great time, versus a dad that might be like, we can't do this. Like, I'm going to call my mom so she can come and help out and give a hand. Right. And so I had really taken that, to heart when I became a father. I was like, I'm not going to try to ask for help for anyone. I could figure it out, because you mentioned this in one of our questions. It's like, I've seen dumber people do this before. I've seen dumber people raise great kids with less education, less resources, less money, less support. And they're capable of doing it. And so I've had this blind confidence that I could figure it out. Hearing that from you is like, knowing that you can, that's like half the battle.
Yeah, and I don't mean any disrespect when I say I've seen some other people that I'm like,
you tell me your friends are
I'm
dumb.
surprised you had kids. Like, I don't mean to disrespect them, but it's just, I look at it like, dude, you barely made it through high school and this and that. But then here they are raising these kids and having a family, and they do it so elegantly. And when I look at them and then I look at, maybe a celebrity couple that I'm like, what, I love the way they're parenting and that they raise their kids. Whenever I look at all these people that I admire, it's still the same common concept of love. And just love and just doing it together. And if you break it all down and just watch the way they talk to each other, the way they handle their kids, it's always love. And so I'm like I told, to your point, I told my wife maybe about 4 weeks ago, she goes, I just need a break one day. I was like, take one. And she goes, really? I go, I honestly think you should leave for the weekend. And she goes, what would you do? I was like, I don't know, but I'm going to figure it out. And that was my exact wording, but it's because I have confidence in myself. I also know that I've established this communication, but also this relationship with my kids that, I just believe that we'll figure it out together. Like, we'll be okay. And, as they get older, I think it gets a little easier. Communication might be a little worse because as like my son at 14, he wants to argue with me now. But at the end of the day, if you can keep them alive, you're doing all right. Keep them alive with a smile on their face. We're not doing bad.
That is good. And I love that confidence. Yeah. The love, Phil, really hit it for me, because when I started this podcast, my idea was that I was going to bring dads of all walks of life, restaurateurs, pro basketball players. I had an NBA player on. We have single dads. We have dads dealing with LGBT kids. The idea behind the pod was that I was going to bring all these dads from all different walks of life and talk about parenting. And you hit it 100% right on the head, was that when it gets to good intentional fathers, it's actually all the same. And everybody, these good dads, they come around with this like unconditional love that was like really I guess you can say the genesis behind this was like, talk to dads from all over the world, all over different walks of life, and see if how they parent and how they talk to their kids or deal with their wives and all this is the same. And I think that through our show, we've seen like so many of it is exactly that. It's just like rooted in love. And when you were talking about that, I'm like, hell yeah, like that's exactly what we were trying to reach. And like when I have dads like you, I mean, obviously I'm really good about bringing great guests on, So you guys are all the same, but like that is like the theme that we've always tried to carry through. So it's like great hearing that. Phil, one last question that I was going to get to before we get into some of the others. We talked about balancing time, and I don't think anyone could say that they have a lot of time. And I know that I tell my mom all the time because my mom's older, and I always say, Mom, you need to work out. And she'll be like, oh, well, I'm so busy with this. Blah, blah. And I said, Mom, no matter what is happening in your life, you're going to say you're busy. That's just human nature. Like we're all busy, right? And I think that when we think about parents and balancing time, we can't. But obviously we do eventually. And we prioritize. But how do you prioritize your time? How do you balance fatherhood with businesses? You're obviously trying to grow brands and you still got to make some money. So tell me about that.
I think that might be the hardest thing, man. Yeah, I think that might be the hardest thing simply because there is so much that I want to do. There's so much my wife just got her real estate license and is part of her parents' real estate group now. But then also, I've always said, just because I'm raising and I created a few new lives doesn't mean that I should give up my life. And I still have dreams and I still have goals. And I believe that if my kids see me going after my dreams, my goals, and, doing something great, whether it be working out or accomplishing something that I wanted to do, that they will be inspired by me, that they will see that, oh, daddy's still doing this at 35, 40, 50. And I want them to see that I'm doing this now and they'll still be able to do it then. But therein lies the problem is how do I prioritize that time? And honestly, I've yet to figure it out. I committed to giving up a few years of my life. I said till Quincy was 4 and Kobe was 3 or 2. And I said that until that happens, they're able to walk, we're able to confidently leave them with a babysitter or our family. Until that happened, I will put things aside because I want to make sure that I'm there through the very, very, what do you call it? I want to make sure that I'm there through like the very intricate stages of growth. Because if I'm not, and I'm going all the time trying to do something, or if my focus is elsewhere, if I'm always tired, they're going to see that, and that's going to rub off. I don't want my kids to think that daddy's too tired to play with me. And so I work out in the morning, but 2 summers ago, I was doing a peak a week. Every week, I was hiking a peak somewhere here in Washington. This summer, I'm not doing that, and it's simply because, well, now my daughter wants to do swim lessons coming up. Now she wants to go to gymnastics, have soccer. My son, I want him to be able to go to playgrounds and start doing other stuff now other than crawling around the house. And so I'm fine with putting those things aside because I know I can get back to them. However, my thing is I'm just making sure that I'm ready for when that time comes, I'm still physically able. Because at the end of the day, one of my priorities is I want to be 50 years old and be able to run around the yard with my kids. My dad did that with me when I was younger, and I never forget racing him up and down our street. So I want to do that with mine.
That's great, Phil. I think that you hit it on the head when you talk about wanting to like continue to be inspired yourself, because your kids are going to be inspired by seeing you be inspired. Like it'll help them see what it takes to chase their dreams. And like the best thing that you could pass along to them is them seeing the hard work that goes into dad reaching his goals, so that when Quincy has her goals, she knows what it takes and she knows the hard work that it is. And so I think that's really cool that you're like, you still got to follow that. And then, you talk about the kids and what you wanted to do. I found that like for me, the really big part of me was like just enjoying that moment, right? So you talk about going to parks or swim lessons, what sometimes feel mundane. I'm like, man, how can I just like love doing this? And I've gotten to this point where it sounds kind of cheesy and corny, but it's like going to the park with my daughter, however many times we do, I fucking love it.
Y'all look like y'all have so much fun.
I love
look
it.
at you and I envy that. I'm like,
I love
yo,
it.
he's having the time of his life.
Yeah, man. And so I've been intentional about that because, as a dad, we go to the same park every time.
Yeah.
The same slide. We might even see the same people.
Same.
I might not even want to talk to those people. Like in my real life, I wouldn't want to talk to them. But if we could look at it as these moments, because you talk about our physical abilities might not be there, but also our kids not going to want to go to the park with us every day. And, in a few years, they're not going to want to. And so, I think I might have like rose colored glasses at time with my parenting, but at the same time, it's like, I need to make these moments special so that not only am I creating like a great life for my daughter and like great memories, but like I'm enjoying it because I have to be there anyways. So let's just create these like magical moments. So that would be like what I always try to do is just like, how can I make this like 50th trip to the park fun? Right. And, no, but it is hard to mix because like you want to be inspired, chase your dreams, but like that means I got to work a little bit longer and not be home. And so I hear you on that. I think that all dads kind of like go through that kind of like decision, but
One of the fun things, though, I think the rose-colored glasses are essential because I don't ever want my daughter to be on a swing or be going down a slide and to ever look back at me and I'm on my phone or I'm just like, I don't want her to ever question if daddy's having fun too. I'm having more fun than you, baby. And
or you're pretending like it at
yeah,
least. Yeah.
on the days I don't want to be there, I'm pretending hardcore. But she will never look at me and I'm not locked in. And I might answer a text real quick, but she always lets me know, Daddy, watch. I'm like, okay, sorry, baby. Daddy, put your phone up. Okay, sorry. But my focus is on that moment and I try to do the exact same. Rose-colored glasses are so essential, and it's just because I think that's a form of support. Even if we're at the park, if daddy's having fun too, daddy enjoys being with me. Daddy enjoys doing what I want to do. And I want her to know that. So I don't want her to ever be like, well, dad's not going to have fun and not invite me to something.
Yeah.
If whatever you want to go do, you ask me, I'll go with you.
Yeah.
If your friends don't want to go, that's fine. We'll have more fun anyways.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. And you know what? Like you meet people every day where you can tell somebody is like happy to be alive and loves life.
Yes.
And I want my daughter to know that I love life and I love being alive and I love doing what we're doing. And like that has always, stuck with me is like, because I want her to love life too. Right. So when people meet her, they're like, man, look at this little girl. She loves life.
Oh,
she's full of joy and all that. And how we build that is like, we be that ourselves. Right. I can't come home from work and just be angry, or I complain about everything, complain about things at a restaurant, complain about traffic or whatever. Like, I don't know, I've said stuff about traffic before, then my daughter starts saying it again. And so I'm like, I just got to show that like we love life is good and amazing. And then like, we just create these kids who are like happy and just like love life.
We were getting off the plane today, and shout out to Alaska Airlines because these people were so nice. We were getting off the plane today. They given my daughter these wings. So my daughter wanted to stay and go and give the people hugs. So she gave the flight attendants hugs. She got off and we were standing there. She made us stay through the entire plane. And she told every single person, she's 2 years old. She told every single person, have a good day. And me and Joey just sat there and just smiled. Like, how can you be mad at that, man? And dude, I'll never forget that. We'll never forget that. It was such a special moment. And the flight attendants were like, she is so amazing. We're like, we're blessed.
I know.
We're blessed.
That's great. Yeah. And we have those moments. I know that, those moments are so important, and not only for your daughter, but for you and your wife, because I'm sure this happens to you and it happened in this moment. You guys almost like lock eyes and you have this moment where this like little creature of yours is amazing at something that he or she does. And you have this like sense of pride of like, look at this, like it's amazing. And I think that for me and my wife, it like when we have those moments, it brings us closer. Hey, last question here, Phil. At the start of the podcast, I asked about your dad. I asked you to tell me about your dad. If we fast forward 20 years and we asked Quincy or Kobe or Jaxxon and we saw them in a bar and we were like, hey, tell us about your dad, what would you hope that they would say?
If I'm any of them, I hope that they say, Daddy's dope. Daddy loves us unconditionally. He's fun. He's the smartest man I know. He has given everything that he had for us. And Daddy showed us what it meant to be a good person. And that Daddy showed us what it meant to love life. Those are the things. Be a good person. And I showed them what it meant to work hard. But if they work hard, they love life, they're a good person, I think that they'll be all right. And I hope that I show them how to do all of that.
That's awesome, Phil. All right, we're moving. The next session is this or that. So I'm going to ask you questions. You just tell me what you prefer, this or that. Phil, would you prefer to take on the morning routine or the nighttime routine?
Nighttime, easily.
Why?
Well, we're going to bed. It's jammies in the bed. Morning, I got to think about what goes in the diaper bag. I feel bad for my wife. What goes in the diaper bag? What does Kobe need? Did they eat? It's too much. It's too much.
Too much.
Nighttime, get the bottle, up to bed. Easy.
Hey, shout out Joey. Shout out Joey for that.
Amazing.
Yeah, shout out Joey for that. All right, would you rather have a dad date with a 2-year-old or a 1-year-old, or a dad date with your 14-year-old?
My 14-year-old.
Why?
Because I'm able to talk to him and get real-time feedback and real cognitive feedback and conversation. But I also, with him being in Texas, I also don't get as much time as I want with him. So I think that I would absolutely love, if I had to wake up tomorrow and pick one, I'd take him out all day for sure.
Would you rather deal with a meltdown in public with one of your 2 under 2, or an argument with your 14-year-old in public?
First off, I'm not arguing with a 14-year-old in public. We're not doing that. Hey, I don't know who you think you're talking to. It ain't me. So that's not even happening. Get that out the picture. So I'd rather deal with a meltdown from my son, because I could do, and he will laugh. My daughter, if she has a meltdown, there's nothing under the sky that will fix her other than her. So we just have to wait it out. And so I'd rather deal with my son.
Okay. What's easier at the high level, 2 under 2 or a 14-year-old boy?
14-year-old boy. 2 under 2, man, you got to be a special breed of person for that.
All right. Would you rather cook in or eat out?
Cook in.
All right. And one-on-one time, that's with you and one of your kids, or the whole family? Be like Joey,
One-on-one.
Quincy, Kobe. One-on-one. Love it. Why do you like the one-on-one time? So much deeper.
That's exactly it. It's so much deeper. Like, each of them are so different. And I just feel like I learn more every day. I see more of them. Kobe started doing today on the plane. We found out that he can put his feet in his mouth. He's never done that. So that was like cool to see. But yeah, even Jaxxon at 14 years old, every day it's something new. So one-on-one time.
Awesome. Hey, Phil, before we go, you had your son at 22. If you can give one piece of advice for a 22-year-old dad to be, what would you tell them?
One piece of advice I would give for a 22-year-old dad to be, or any dad at that, because what I didn't do at 22 is just show up. It's so easy to run because you think it's so much that you have to do. You think you have all this responsibility, which it is. But if you just show up and you're just there, that will cover so much, so many different bases. It's the presence. You can't beat presence. And there's some, I could go on for 30 minutes about this, but you can't beat having presence. Just show up, show that you love them, and that'll mean so much. At 22 especially, you have so much energy, your knees are good, you can get on the floor. Just show up, just be there. And everyone around you will see that. They'll wanna help you, but then your kids will see that and they will love you. So just show up.
Thanks, Phil. I love that, man. Thank you for being here on the podcast. We finally got to connect over this. I've been trying to get you on for a while. Thanks for sharing the stories about your kids with us.
Dude, I appreciate you, man.
For Kevin and for Phil on the Rise of Dad podcast, we'll catch you guys later. Thanks for joining.
Thank you. This was amazing.
What's up, dads? Thank you for listening to this episode of the Rise and Dad podcast. We hope that you like, comment, share, subscribe, follow, and do all of the great things that help us continue to make great content for you.